Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining tonight's session on the MIAD 803, which is Foreign Policies Analysis, where we'll be discussing some likely question to come in the examination. If time permits us, we are going to look into 16 past questions. Listen, we are going to look into 16 past questions, and we are here to learn, understand? So in case you have any observation, addition, just let me know why we are on this in this class. Okay. So the first question, without wasting our time, the first question I want us to look at is discuss the evolution of foreign policy analysis as an academic discipline. Discuss the evolution.
Progress.
Please, if you know you don't have any contribution, kindly mute yourself, please. So discuss the evolution of foreign policy analysis as an academic discipline. You understand now? So discuss the evolution of foreign policy analysis as an academic discipline. Can you see me? I don't see myself.
We can see you.
Okay, good. So the evolution of foreign policy analysis. So in this kind of question, if you are asked to discuss the evolution of foreign policy analysis, what would be the answer to this kind of question? What will be the answer to this kind of question? Anyone to try?
Foreign policy first, then go ahead to define foreign policy analysis. Then would that be needed? Then you move forward to the evolution, the origin. Do we need to state the the first generation, the second generation? Do we need to state that that's too far?
I'm listening to you. We are here to learn. We are here to learn.
Yeah, first I'm asking that, do we need to, if they ask you, is that not too far to start stating, okay, the origin of
What do you understand by the origin?
What do I understand by the origin of the origin of...
Yeah, you know they are talking about the evolution. They are talking about the evolution.
The evolution, yes.
It in
That's how it started, right?
Yeah.
Evolution of foreign policy, that means how it started from the traditional international relations to focusing on the system, not the decision makers. We focus on the system and not decision makers. Then we'll move to the emergence due to the limitations, right? Then we'll move to the emergence. Then do we talk about the I don't know, the levels of analysis, or we just leave it at the origin?
They said the question is discuss the evolution of foreign policy analysis.
How it started.
So how it started as an academic discipline. So what you just have to know, and foreign policy analysis evolved as a reaction against the traditional realist approach in international relations, and which treated the state as a unitary and rational actor. So the state, before the evolution of foreign policy, before the 1950s, the foreign policy analysis was treated as in a rational way. That is, they take the state as a unitary, a rational actor. Listen, they lay everything on the state. But before the 1950s, foreign policy was largely explained through power politics and the system factor alone, which is before we talk about foreign policy analysis. If they want to analyze decision making in international global in the global sphere, they base on power politics and the systemic factors alone. As we do it now, they don't process it now as we have a systematic way of analyzing decision in the global sphere. They don't do it now. They are like that. Now, so the formal emergence of foreign policy began in 1954. Understand? The evolution started in 1954 with the publication of decision making as an approach to the study of international politics. I don't know whether you remember, we talked about Sidney, Brooks, Sapin. Did anyone remember this one?
Yes.
Do you remember, right? Okay. So when they ask you to talk about the evolution, understand, if you remember them, you should try to list them from that stage, the traditional stage, till you get to the contemporary stage. You understand? So when you are done, when you get to the contemporary stage, you should be able to give a conclusion. Understand now? So I want you to come in now. I want someone to volunteer to come. Who will come in to answer this now? We've done it, so I don't want to repeat myself, and that will come in to answer this. Just try. We are learning. Understand? Just someone should try. You can open your note if you have a note beside you. Open it and just say it. Believe me, what you say this night, if you come out in the exam, you will remember tomorrow. So if you have your note, just open your note and say it.
Let me try.
No one.
Let me
You can try.
Okay, I want to try. Okay, so the evolution of foreign policy discipline as an academy started in 1950 because of the tradition in international theories. It focuses on the system, but not the decision makers. So it emerged in 1950 due to the limitation of the traditional international theory in 1950. This was the study of international relations. The systemic theory is not working, so you had to give birth to new things. Origin of foreign
So
policies.
I'm coming. So for those that don't understand what you just mentioned, let me just explain. They said foreign policy was analyzed traditionally before, but because that is not working, they have to bring out a new way of doing foreign policy analysis. That is what she wants to explain to us now. The origin. Let's go to the origin.
The origin. Okay, so we got the origin of foreign policy. They were dominated by three major things. One, diplomatic history, the historian, they study how countries in the past interacted together. What prompted them? What was the interest that made them come together and say, oh, we had to interact? Secondly, so we can talk about, I think if we talk about that one, we know that since no country is an island, so and there has to be an interaction between these countries. So I feel like that's an example that we can give. So there was interaction even before it came. So they were studying in that how did these people come together? Even though they didn't have a system, but they still interacted then. Another thing, they studied the international laws and legal analysis. Who who made the laws, how these laws were influenced by state and non-state actors. You don't just make a law alone, you make laws and sanction them. They were just making laws, but there was no sanction.
So
Okay.
what she's trying to explain to us now is how foreign policy was being studied even before we have the contemporary foreign policies. You understand now? So through the historian, through law, so that's how it's been studied. That it is not that study as we are doing it in 2025 or in this century. It was studied as in a historical way by studying history, by studying the state, understand, as rational actors. So that's what she's trying to explain to us. Now, I want you to go to the evolution, the first stage of the evolution. When did the evolution started now?
Okay. The first stage of the evolution. So, well, okay, the first stage of the evolution, but is that the pioneer? Is that the pioneer stage? Am I correct? Am I correct? Or because after interaction with the law, we still focus on the states rather than that's it, the level. But the next one I have is the level of the pioneer. The first pioneer was Sid, Sid,
Uh,
Sydney
yeah.
Sperm Book. There are three things that should be noted here. First, decision making as a clear explanation in foreign policy. You must study how this decision making process is done before you study foreign policy. As in, how is it done? Actors, perception, and interpretation. Different actors. Okay, yeah, you can go ahead.
No, thank you. I like,
I'm
I
just
like
trying my best. Don't laugh
the,
at me.
it should not be only me talking every day. Understand? Sometimes I need to give the floor to you. Understand? It's interesting to listen to you. Thank you very much. So what she's trying to explain is, you see, foreign policy, the evolution of when you talk about evolution, that is where did foreign policy start? Understand? Now? The current foreign policy we are doing, we call it contemporary foreign policy analysis. But before the contemporary foreign policy analysis, which stage does each stage passes? You understand now? I will do something. I will do something in a random way. I will not go deep because it's something we've talked about. But that question I'm giving you this night, know the question and go and look for a similar question to that question I will give you this night. Now, we said about stage one between 1950 to 1960s, which was the decision-making approach stage. Understand now? There they focus on how leaders perceive threat, evaluate options, and make choice under constraint. That's the first stage. Understand? As I said, I'll not go deep as we've done it. So you can watch it in mode one of the video in my YouTube. While the second stage is a psychological and cognitive approach stage, it was between the 1960s to the 1970s. Understand now? So here, scholars such as Margaret and Harold, Margaret Sprout and Harold, they introduced perception, belief systems, and psychological environment to foreign policy. That is, here in this stage, they introduce a stage whereby if you're analyzing foreign policy, you must also analyze the perception of leaders, the belief system of leader, and the psychological environment leaders are when making the decision. You understand? So this is the second stage. We move on. We move forward. We move to a stage, a comparative political organization stage, and we move to the how do you call it? Comparative foreign policy between the 1970s to the 1980s. So now, here we attempted to identify patterns across states using empirical and behavioral method, that is comparing each state. So the last one was the contemporary foreign policy. So to better understand this, I will advise you to watch the module one. I will advise you to go watch the module one. I will not go deep into it, but write the question down and do your own personal homework. Look for a similar question to that one I gave you this night. Listen. Now, the question two I want us to look into. The question two says, explain the level of analysis in foreign policies analysis with relevant examples. What are the levels we have in foreign policy analysis? These are things we've done, you understand? So I might not go deep, but I want us to rub minds, understand? So the question says, explain the level of analysis in foreign policy analysis with relevant example. Let me explain this one now. Should I explain this?
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Now, levels of foreign policy analysis refer to different analytical layers used to explain foreign policy behavior. You understand? When you say level of foreign policy analysis, it refers to different analytical layers used to explain foreign policy behavior. This level helps scholars to understand why states act the way they act, which means that for you to understand a foreign policy, there are some layers, there are some steps, there are some level you need to understand. You understand? So when they make law globally, internationally, when they make law, you understand? The level you will use to decorticate or understand the decision they make is the levels of foreign policy analysis. You understand? When you are in a 3-story building, you get to first story, second story, third story. So there are layers you need to pass through before you get to your third-story building. That is where you are living. So you will not stay at the first-story building and go and enter somebody's house. That means you will be lost. So you need to go to second stage, second level, third level. So the same thing applicable to foreign policy analysis. In the foreign policy, we have some level. You understand? What are the levels we have in foreign policy? The major levels. Can anyone explain that one to us? Can anyone explain that one to us? The major level we have in foreign policy analysis. Don't let me talk. I want us to talk.
Can I try? I think there are 3 levels: the individual level of analysis, state level of analysis, and the international or systemic level of analysis.
Thank you very much. Wait, before you talk, can anyone explain the individual level of analysis? No one.
The individual level of...
Okay, let Emmanuel talk.
Very good. Okay. So the individual level of foreign policy analysis more or less focuses on the leaders as key decision makers, like in not okay leaders in terms of maybe political actors, and then maybe ambassadors and people like that, key decision makers when it comes to foreign policy. And in this system of foreign policy, the personality traits of the leader, his beliefs and values, psychology and emotion, leadership style, and even past experiences or perception are key motivators or key contributors to the kind of decisions they make. And yes, I think that's what I know about it.
Thank you very much. So what he's saying here is that when we talk about individual level, we are talking about the leader, personality, belief, perception, or psychological traits. So in this level, you are understanding the person that is making that law or that decision in the global sphere. You understand? The way Donald Trump make decision is different from the way Tinubu make decision. So if you want to understand the decision they make, you need to study this person that make this decision, which is a leader of that country. It can be a president, it can be an ambassador, it can be a minister, or it can be a stakeholder. But you need to study the person personalities, belief, perception, and psychological traits. Do you understand? That is the individual level. That is the first level, individual level. Understand? And she mentioned the second level, she mentioned is state level. I want her to explain the state level. Who was talking before?
Okay.
Okay.
So the state level, this level tries to look at the internal aspect of the state, the shape of the decision made by the state as a whole. It also looks at some characteristics that affect the decisions of that state. It can sometimes be geographical size or the population or the economic capability of that state, as well as the political system or the military strength of that state. And it also says that I think different state structures provide different outcomes when it comes to decision making. I think that's what I understand by that
Very
level.
much. So when we are done with it, the explaining the individual level that talks about the leader, personality, belief, perception, and psychological trait, we move to the state, which means that even before a leader will come, there should be a state, there should be a country, a territory, which the leader is going to govern, right? Now, the state level is otherwise known as a domestic level. Understand? So this in this stage, we examine political institution, interest group, economic condition, and public opinion. You understand now? So we're trying to know what is happening in the country or in the territory of that particular leader. Now, if you want to analyze the foreign policy made by Donald Trump, we will not face Canada or Nigeria, we will face America. Understand? So, state level or domestic level. You understand? Individual level is number one. The number two is a state level or domestic level, where we examine political institution, interest group, economic condition, and public opinions. Yes. So, for instance, in the U.S. Congress is being influenced by how do you call U.S. Congress they are the one that influence American foreign policy. You understand now? So in Nigeria, you will also think which part of Nigeria at the state level influence Nigerian foreign policy. You understand now? So they are in Abuja. You understand? So either the House of Rep or the House of Senate, any decision they make influence the decision of the country at the state level. Why the third one she mentioned is systemic or systematic level or system level. Now, who can explain the system level for us, please? I don't want Emmanuel and our teacher. Our teacher, she's our teacher tonight, so I don't want them to talk. Another person to talk on that one. System level. Who can explain system level to us? System level. Somebody, another voice to say something. Be forcing yourself. Someone say something.
Okay, let me try. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you.
All right. So the system level of analysis, based on my understanding, it examines how the reality of international system affect and influence foreign policy decision making. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. She mentioned something. There is one key word there: international system or international structure. How the decision making is done at international structure. So this system level concentrates on international structure, international system. Understand? Balance of power and the polarity. How power is being shared. How power is being structured internationally. You understand? So the levels. The questions, what's the question again? Let me look at the question. Say, explain the level of analysis in foreign policy analysis. And so there are three. We've done a video on that one. I will just advise you note that question and look for a similar question that is same thing as what I give it. Similar, that is, it might not be the same thing, but a question that come out from that aspect. Understand? We'll proceed, please. This time we're just doing revision, not teaching notes, not writing too much, no, but giving you an insight. Now, another question here, it says, critically examine the role of leadership and political psychology in foreign policy decision making. Critically examine the role of leadership and political psychology in foreign policy decision making. Critically, did you get the question? Did you get the question? Somebody should reply, please.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So the question say, critically examine the role of leadership and political psychology in foreign policy decision making. Now, you should know that leadership and political, they are talking about leadership and political psychology. Yeah, leadership and political psychology play a crucial role in foreign policy decision making because leaders interpret information, they perceive threats, and they make choice under uncertainty. So, which means that the decision, when you talk about foreign policy analysis decision, they are made by leaders, right? So, this leader, they are not asking us to explain. They say we should examine the role and the political psychology in foreign policy analysis. Number one, can anyone try to answer this one for me? Or I should answer it myself. Should I answer it? Or somebody will try?
So, this talking about the analysis of leaders' behavior, is it the same question? The psychobiography, content analysis, and all of that. Is that it?
If it's a bit related, that's where the question comes from. And so there they are asking us to say the psychological factors that can influence a leader's decision in the first psychological factor. You get? So that topic you are giving us is where that question comes from. Am I communicating? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
so
I get
that is that part of the topic that the question comes from. Yes or no? But yeah, they are talking about the psychological factor influencing a leader's decision making, foreign policy decision making. Yes or no? So anyway, let me just read it out. Let me just say it here my own way. If anybody has a contribution, you can have a contribution to it. Number one, I have here is perception and misperception. Perception and misperception. Listen. So the question is, if we are talking about the role of leadership and political psychology. Leadership and political psychology. That is what leadership, the role of leadership and political psychology, the psychological factors that can influence a decision. And so now, psychology, perceptions and misperceptions. Here, we are talking about psychological factors. So psychological factors should be like something that is have to do with belief, how do you call it? The belief or the belief, the perceptions, or the cognitive ways a leader will think. Yeah. So we now say that perception and misperception. So when you talk about perception and misperception, you should know that leaders may misinterpret intentions. Listen, leaders may misinterpret intentions of another leader. You understand? Psychologically, a leader can misinterpret the intention of another leader. When you look at what happened at the Cuba War, Cuba Missile Crisis now, at the Cuba Missile Crisis now, there was misperception and perception stage there. That is when John Kennedy took his decision that he want to go and stop the how do you call the USSR. Listen, there was a kind of misperception there because you are not sure whether they want to come and bombard you or they are not coming to bombard you. So sometimes a leader can misinterpret something that is happening. So if you are doing SWOT analysis, for instance, now in SWOT analysis we do strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, and threat, right? So sometimes what you call threat can be opportunity. But because of some psychological factor, you see threat before you see opportunity. So misperception will come in as a leader. Since no one is perfect, since no leader is perfect, there will be misinterpretation of adversary intention. So when you see your neighbors doing something, currently now, what Donald Trump did in Venezuela, so it's either there is a perceptions ideology here or there is a misperceptions. So they said they are going to take him to court. They are going to take the leader to court and give him a judgment. But the decision Donald Trump took, if some people have to analyze it, they will say he misinterpreted what is going on in Venezuela. Why some people will defend Donald Trump. So it happened like that. So psychologically, leaders can misinterpret intention in the global political system. So that's number one. Number two, cognitive biases. Cognitive biases. So when you talk about cognitive biases, we talk about
sorry, please, sir. I want to sorry. All of this is under what? Because I just joined again now, please. They are under.
We are just doing past questions.
Okay, past questions, sorry.
We are just doing questions. I'm not treating module. I'm not treating a module per se. I'm just doing past questions.
Okay.
Because we've done module 1, module 2, module 3 of this course, so I'm just treating questions. So the question I asked, who can tell me the question again, please?
Examine the role of leadership and political psychology.
Yeah, the role of leadership and political psychology in foreign policy decision making. That is, the leader that will make the decision and his psychology. You should examine the factor that influence the leader and his psychology. You understand now? And I see that is misperception and perception. That is, leaders may misinterpret intention in the global political system. I give the example of the Cuba Missile Crisis, where there was misinterpretation of intention on both sides, both the USSR and the USA. So number two, I was talking about cognitive biases. Cognitive biases is that some leaders sometimes have overconfidence and confirmation bias, and also group taking influence decision. So you see, cognitively, like in way of taking decision, leaders sometimes can take decision in a way that is either true or not, you don't care, but is going to follow a group thinking decision. That is, what is group thinking, sir? Before I continue on that one, what is group thinking? What is group thinking? What is group thinking? Is in this course we did group thinking, or what is group thinking? Hello. What is group thinking? Nobody.
I don't know. Let me try. I don't know how to put it.
Just say it.
But I think it's like a desire for harmony that leads to poor decision making. They don't really check whether their expert opinions matter. I don't know. Something related to that. I don't know how to put it.
A group and thinking. That means that those people advising the leaders, they might be small group of people, and their decision carries weight. You understand now? Psychologically, cognitively, they influence the leader decision as in foreign policy. Now, not saying that overconfidence. Look, let's take the case of Cuba Missile Crisis. You will see that there was different opinion from this group thinking. Some people say let's attack them. Some say diplomatic institution, the negotiation. Some were looking for other options. So leaders in a country are always influenced by group thinking. That is, group thinking influence decision in decision of leaders. And aside from that one, there is overconfidence. Sometimes leaders are overconfident. Listen, when making decision. I don't know whether you are with me. I don't know whether you understand me.
Yeah, sorry, can I cite an example that with recent this thing? Donald Trump was not really ready to go that far. So with Venezuelan president, it was Marco Rubio, he's the Secretary of State, because even the Venezuelan president before that, he was telling Donald Trump that Marco Rubio wants to push you do what your something like there's no going back or that. So it was not really his intention, but Marco Rubio forced him to go and kidnap him, and so I think that is
in this case, there has been a cognitive bias. The leader wants to take a decision, but the group thinking has its own decision. So the group thinking in the administration influence decisions of leaders. I'm not here. We are just talking about the psychological factors influencing leadership decision. So when you notice that when Donald Trump wanted to come to Nigeria, when we wanted to send his people to Nigeria, his military to Nigeria, he did not take that decision alone. The Congress was set up, and the Congress decided that he should send a military to Nigeria. Now, so here we are talking about cognitive biases. So confirmation bias, overconfidence of leaders, and group thinking influence the decision of leaders. So now, which means that the leader will not take decision on his own, just like that, but sometimes he is being influenced by some things. You understand? And another thing I have here is a belief system and ideology. So ideological commitment shape policy preference. So the belief system of a leader or his ideology shape the foreign policy of a particular leader. You understand now? So, for instance, now Nigeria during Obasanjo, we are more clamoring for regional integration, and Nigeria has been the giant of Africa. So, anything Obasanjo will do during that period is just to bring Africa to be united and also push Nigeria as a border of all African nations. You understand now? So, belief system of a leader and a psychological an ideology of a leader. If a leader has an ideology, that ideology is going to push forward. The ideology of Obasanjo is different from Jonathan, from Yar'Adua, from Buhari, and from Tinubu. So each leader has their own ideology, and that ideology influences the decision. So the decision of the leader is being influenced by the ideology they possess, the ideology they have. You understand now? Now, we are in my last option here, I have personal traits. Personal trait. Understand now? Personal trait of Donald Trump, he don't want any risk. He don't want any problem that will affect America. So he's not risk or tolerance. Recently, somebody posted a video in our general group where Donald Trump is saying that they want to take Greenland because he's afraid that if they don't take Greenland, if America doesn't take Greenland, Russia or China are going to occupy that land and they are going to be neighbor to America. So the personal trait of leader, understand now, also influence decision-making process in foreign policy. Understand now? So either a leader, whether the leader is risk tolerance or the leadership style of that leader will affect the way the leader is going to react to threat or crisis. You understand now? So this is about this psychological factor. What I just want you to do is go and read questions that are linked to this question I gave you. Now. So I think, I don't know if it's a while, somebody mentioned here that it's under psychological factor, how do you call it? Psychobiography of leaders, psychological factor. So all these parts in your handout. The exam is tomorrow morning. Just read it this night. That part, read it this night. Just have an idea about it. So don't let it come as a shock to you. Man, I don't talk my own. Another question I have here: compare realist and liberal approach to foreign policy analysis. Compare realist and liberal. I think this exam they did last time, at the day before yesterday, they talk about liberal. Abi? What was that past question? Well, anybody with that past question? The exam they did, I think on Friday, right? They did exam on Friday or Saturday on 803. There is one of the questions that talk about liberal approach. Nobody to talk about that one. Okay, no worry.
Yes, it was there. It was
a
part
question
of the question we did.
So which means if there is a question talking about liberal, you should be expecting something like realist now. Or you should expect something like, you should tell us, you should compare both the realist and liberal approach to foreign policy analysis. So according to realists, states are rational and unitary actors. Understand? According to them, states are rational and unitary actors. And according to the realists, they say that national interest defined in terms of power and security. Understand now? So the national interest is based on power and security. Understand now? And according to the realists, again, they also say that international system is anarchic in nature, no central government. Understand now? And according to the realists, they say the war is inevitable. That is, we cannot do without war. War must come. So you must prepare yourself for war. So in this world we have, you will see that some leaders, they are realists in their way of thinking. Some leaders, they are realists in their way of thinking. They believe that anytime, war can break out. And if war break out, they have to be prepared for that war. That is why you see that most world power, they are having nuclear weapons. You need to have it. So once you have it, other people are going to be afraid of you. That is according to a realist approach. What about according to liberal now? Can anyone talk about it? According to liberal. Oh, I should talk. Let me just talk because we don't have much time. Now, liberal on their own, they say that state, who is calling me now? In class. Let me put my phone on do not disturb. Just bear with me. Just put it on do not disturb. Sorry, let me just message a person. I'm sorry. 1 minute. Let me call the person. Okay. Okay, good. Where is my Zoom? Okay, Zoom. Sorry. Now, who can explain the liberal to us now? They say you should compare liberal people to the realist people. So I've talked about the realist now. Who explain the liberal now? Liberal approach. Let me say it. Let me just say it. So the realists, they say that the state is a unitary actor. So you should know that the liberal will say that the states are not unitary actors. You understand? And cooperation, according to the liberal, cooperation is possible. That is why we have international institutions. Understand now? We have regional institutions and we have international institutions because they believe that no state can survive on their own. You need to cooperate with other states. Understand now? And also, to the liberal, they believe that democracy, countries that are democratic, rarely fight each other. Understand now? Because they cooperate together, they don't fight. If you cooperate with each other, you will not like to fight with your neighbor. Understand? And according to the liberal, they say that domestic politics and institutions are very important. They matter a lot. Understand? So the realism focus on power, while the liberal focus on institution. You know, the institution they come with cooperation, right? The realism, they focus on conflict. They are conflict oriented. While the liberalism, they are cooperation oriented. Understand? I don't know whether you people are understanding me. I think we are only 6 here. So
We
you
hear
should know
you,
that
sir.
both the liberal and the realist, they have different approach. You get? So this is what I mentioned. If anybody has an an additional thing to add to it, we've done it in one of our classes. But if you have anything to add to it, you can add it. You can talk. We are just learning. We are in an interactive class. Anybody to add anything to this? Anybody to add this to it?
They also emphasize on the state not being unitary, unlike realists who believe that the state is a unitary government. And they also say that the states do not act rationally, like the realists believe that the state acts rationally.
Okay. Thank you very much. I want to bring another question. I want somebody to answer this question for me. I don't know. Yeah, let me put 30,000 in place now. The person that answered this, I know it's small for you. I know you are my boss. So 30,000 for the person that will answer this question. Assess the relevance of bureaucratic policies in foreign policy formulation. Bureaucratic policies in foreign policy. I want somebody to teach us. Don't let me only to talk now. Assess the relevance of bureaucratic politics. Do you know that we have that bureaucratic in our course material? Bureaucracy.
Yes.
Do you know that?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So then the question is now assess the relevance of bureaucratic politics in foreign policy formulation.
Is it assess normal assessment?
Yeah, like I said, like ASSESS.
Okay.
We want to do 18 questions, understand that?
The role of, you say assess the role of bureaucratic policies.
Assess the relevance of bureaucratic policies. Assess the relevance of bureaucratic policies in foreign policy formulation.
Wow.
Let me continue. Don't worry, I'll continue. In case anybody wants to add to it, you can add to it. Bureaucratic policies model argue that foreign policy outcome result from bargaining among government agencies. rather than a single rational decision. Which means that the bureaucratic politics, the bureaucratic politics model, it is believed that if government wants to make a decision, the decision is not made by a single person, but it is being a debative topic, a debative argument, an argument among government agencies. You understand? Because we have different parastatals, different ministries. So sometimes when a leader want to make a decision, he call on them. That is why we call them the cabinet of the president. He call on his cabinet. They sit down, and each one will give his point of view. And it is always the outcome result from bargaining among these people in the cabinet. Bureaucracy, whereby there is agency of the government, they argue together, they bargain together to conclude on a decision, a final decision. Understand now? Now, if you check your course material, the course material talk about bureaucratic politics model. Understand now? So how decision is made, how decision is being influenced by bureaucracy. Understand? Now, key assumption of this model. They said to them, government is fragmented. When we say government is fragmented, what do we mean by that? What do we mean that government is fragmented?
It's divided into sectors.
Government is being divided into different sectors. When you talk about Tinubu today, Tinubu alone cannot rule Nigeria. He has people in his administration. He has people. There are fragmentation in Nigeria. So you have different parastatals, different ministry, different organizations that are also in the government of Tinubu, which means that Tinubu only cannot do it. So to them, government is fragmented. So far, the government is being fragmented. Decision the leader will make also has to pass through a bureaucratic process. Unless the leader is authoritative, you don't want to listen to any other people. You want to just talk. If the leader is not authoritative, the decision have to pass through people in the bureau. That's the first key assumption. Another key assumption to this bureaucratic political model, they believe that agencies pursue organizational interest. Agencies pursue organizational interest. Agency, ministry, cabinet, parastatal, they will also pursue their own interest rather than the general interest. Because this year, let's say Tinubu wants to take a decision, and he call on Ministry of Foreign Affairs, he call on the Ministry of Health, he call on Ministry of Transportation, Tourism, and he call on all of them. Understand now? Everyone will talk on what he knows. Understand? Which means that they are going to pursue their own personal interest, like their own organizational interest, their ministry. They're going to pursue the interest. That is, they will want the government to take a decision that favor their own ministry. That is it. So bureaucratic process.
Yeah.
You want something? Do you want to say something? Okay. Please, you can mute yourself.
Yeah.
So why the another key assumption of this bureaucratic system is that decision reflects compromise. Listen, when you say decision reflects compromise, can anyone explain that one to us? Can anyone explain this to us? Decision reflect compromise.
If I understand it, I think it simply means not everyone will get their way. So this they just each have to I'm trying to look for another word for compromise, but they just each have to compromise on different areas to meet at one point. Like the example, I don't know, the example you gave us on the Ministry of I think Ministry of Foreign Investment. Was it Foreign Investment and Custom when the border was closed? So they both had to compromise for the border to be partially opened at some point.
Thank you very much. So sometimes decisions have been compromised in order to favor one part and another part. And so now, so That is bureaucratic level. Understand? So in the bureaucratic level, understand the relevance of this thing. Understand now? So this bureaucratic level highlight the role of ministries, military, and intelligence agencies. So it's going to show this bureaucratic level. It shows the roles of each department, each parastatals, understand, in the government. It will not only focus on the president. It's going to show that, okay, we know there's president, but the president cannot make decisions alone. The president has some people they need to follow. So these people, what are their role in the administration? Listen. So that one is also another one you need to put is it explains policy inconsistency. The bureaucratic policy inconsistencies. So I'm just giving a summary, and you do your own homework before 9. We have the exam at 9, so you can do your own homework before 9. So explain policy inconsistency. So sometimes leaders take a decision, like for instance now, Buhari close the border. Understand? Tinubu open it. Understand? I mean, there's inconsistency. Why not following what Buhari put down? Understand now? So once the decision that is on ground does not favor the majority in the cabinet, we change it to something that can favor the majority in the cabinet. Understand now? So, but when you look at this bureaucratic system of government, bureaucratic how do you call politics in foreign policy, it has a limitation that is very glaring. Understand now? One of the limitations that is very glaring is it underestimates leadership authority, which means that Tinubu as a leader it underestimates Tinubu as a leader. It underestimates leadership authority, which means when you see a leader like this, you believe that is a leader that will make the decision he's making, but you will not know that there are some people that influence the government decision. So which means that the leader is not having power, but people that give the leader advice, they are the one that carry weight, because they are the one that are going to help the leader understand that, okay, this is what you need to do. And then the leader will just proclaim or say it out what he or she wants people to do. And this, one of the limitations of this bureaucratic politics is that it is less applicable in authoritative regime. You know what I mean by authoritative regime? What is authoritative regime?
Like military.
Thank you very much. So like in a military system now, you cannot apply bureaucratic politics in a military or any authoritative regime, because they will not want to listen to you. They will want to do their own first. You know, in the military, they say obey the last command or the last order. You have to obey the last order. You don't need to question your leader. So it's bureaucratic politics is highly relevant in complex government, especially democracy, where multiple actors shape politics, not in an authoritative regime. So note it down also. Go and read. There is like 2 or 3 topics that are linked to this bureaucratic politics. Go and read that one. Now, analyze it. I have another question here. Analyze the role of non-state actors. The role of non-state actors. That one you should be able to understand that one. And the role of non-state actors. Can anyone just list the role of non-state actors to us? Role of non-state actors. Just list it. That one, if that one comes in the examination, it's simple to answer. Understand? But before you read the role of non-state actor, just give me the types of non-state actors. Types of non-state actors.
Intergovernmental organizations.
Okay.
Multinational organizations.
Wait. What was your
intergovernmental organizations?
Are you sure they are non-state actor?
Oh, wait, it's true. Okay, sorry. Multinational corporations, interest group, terrorist organizations.
Continue. I want to talk, but continue.
Okay, multinational corporations, interest groups, terrorist organizations. I don't know again. I would have said pressure groups, but I don't know that pressure group and interest group, whether they're the same thing.
Yeah. International,
Non-governmental organizations, can they fall in here?
yeah. International organizations,
And
yes.
international organizations, yes.
Okay. So these are types. They are not asking us what is their role in foreign policy decision making. In contemporary foreign policy, what is the role of this organization we mentioned? We've done it. I remember we've done it. Talk. I just want us to talk. You see, when I talk and you talk is interesting. I just want to learn from you.
They shape foreign policy decisions.
They influence foreign policy decision. Okay.
They provide assistance.
They provide humanitarian assistance and development assistance. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, sir. Do you mean positive or negative? But are they included in the role?
The role is to be a positive role. Even the terrorists, their role is they influence the foreign policy decision. The terrorists, understand? Because sometimes you see how do you call Donald Trump sending over his army to Nigeria, understand? Before
But
you
if
send
we're
them over,
answering it, sorry to cut you. If we're answering it, can we differentiate it to positive and negative role? Since we're including terrorist group, I don't know if their own is so positive.
you can mention the role if it depends on how you want it to be. Understand? If it's me on my own, I'll just list out the role. If it's 7, if it's 8, I'll just list out the role. I'll give an example now. The example, one of the question I answered today. So this question was talking about probability and non-probability. You see, they said I should do compare and contrast the major differences between probability and non-probability. Normally, I can do compare up, I'll do contrast down. But I don't know whether you can see me. Can you see me?
Yes.
So I just list it. I put the first point, the second point. I put the first point, and I choose probability. I choose non-probability. Second point, probability, non-probability. Third point, till I get to my destination here. In total, I put 7 points, and I give what probability says on. I say what non-probability says on. So, if you think that you have more time, that you can explain both the negative impact or the positive impact or roles, you can say it. But if you don't have no point, I would just say, just list it out and in a better way you can explain it. Just explain it in a better way, you can explain it. Understand? So, but the best advice I would give is if they did not specify the numbers of roles they need, like how many, list any 5 or 2 or 3, if they did not specify, the best is list at least 5. At least 5. So once you list at least 5, if they are giving you mark, you can get 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. But before you list that 5, you've explained the non-state actor. You've giving us the meaning of non-state actors. So if they give you 2, 2, 2 in 5 points, the definition of non-state actor will give you another 2 points. So 2 plus 5, 2 times 5 plus 2, 12/15. You are good. So we are talking about the roles of non-state actors. So he mentioned they influence foreign policy decision. He also mentioned they provide humanitarian aid and development assistance. Another one.
They foster collaboration and cooperation.
What?
Foster collaboration and cooperation.
They foster cooperation and collaboration. Okay. Just talk. Because it might be what you say this night that can save you tomorrow. You understand? Sometimes it's like that.
Human security by creating job opportunities. That's
Create job
employment.
opportunities, especially the multinational corporations. They create job opportunities.
Right.
Another one,
Promoting norms and values.
they promote norms and values in the society.
Right.
And so go and read about this, read about the state actors, and read about the non-state actors. Understand now? Please, I want somebody to help me, to bail me. Prospect theory. Can anyone explain prospect theory? And it's relevant to foreign policy analysis. Even if you read it from your note, read it from your note. Can anyone explain prospect theory? Prospect theory. And it's relevant to foreign policy analysis. Anyone?
Okay, prospect theory in foreign policy analysis.
Yeah.
Okay, so prospect theory introduces psychological insights into foreign policy analysis and represents a move from the assumption of fully rational decision making, that is by states. And it developed initially in behavioral economics. Prospect theory explains how individuals make decisions under conditions of risk and uncertainty. Should I continue?
No, you try. Continue. I mean, we are listening to you.
Okay. So, in foreign policy analysis, prospect theory suggests that decision makers evaluate policy options relative to a reference point rather than in absolute terms. As leaders tend to be risk aversive when operating in a domain of gains, but risk acceptant when facing potential losses. I think an example here should be like the Cuban Missile Crisis. So this insight helps explain why states sometimes adopt risky foreign policies, even when such policies appear irrational from a traditional cost-benefit perspective.
So let me take in. Let's do class. Let's do normal class. Go on class. Let's do a class on number. We'll do a class on prospect theory. Then when we are done with it, I'll continue with. I have 18 questions. So out of the 18 questions, so there is likely that you will see like 4 that will come out. Like I don't know what, but if there is time for us to cover it, we'll cover it. If we are not covering it, I wish you good luck in the examination. Now, prospect theory. You people that are in Abuja, you don't get expo for Abuja. Help your brother in UK. They said Abuja that things is very easier for you people there. Is it true? Anybody in Abuja here doing
I
exam?
don't know if things are easier. I just know that the invigilators, especially the men, don't really have a problem with strict conditions. Like some of them allow you to ask a few questions. I think I noticed that. So so long as you talk respectfully, they don't have a problem with that.
They don't give you expo. Or you don't want to
I
tell
don't
us.
see any. Hey, to say I see.
Okay, let's go. That's just a deviation. Now, prospect theory. Prospect theory is a behavioral decision theory in foreign policy. Understand? So it explains how individuals and decision makers actually make choice under condition of risk and uncertainty. Listen now. So Mr. Emmanuel gave us an example talking about how decision was made during the Cuba missions crisis. You understand now? So this prospect theory helps us to understand how individuals and decision makers actually take decision under condition of risk and uncertainty. Understand? So in foreign policy analysis, prospect theory is used to explain why leaders sometimes adopt irrational, risky, or aggressive foreign policy, especially during crisis. I repeat it, the prospect theory helps us to understand why leaders sometimes adopt irrational, risky, or aggressive foreign policy, especially in during crisis. You understand now? It has some assumption, like prospectory assumption. Understand? Prospectory assumption. Number one assumption, loss aversion. All these things we've done it to. Loss aversion. Loss, LOSS, and aversion, like averting, deviating. And so we've done this in. So if you attend all my class, you will listen. Loss aversion. Losses are felt more intensely than gain. Understand now? So which means that before a leader will make any decision in foreign policy, according to this prospect theory, that leader is going to calculate the loss, the percentage of the loss compared to the gain. In the Cuban Missile Crisis, you see that USA has the missile to attack USSR and Cuba, but they did not attack them because they calculated the loss. They calculated what they will lose than what they will gain. Although if they attack USSR and Cuba, they can win, but there is going to be more losses. So, according to the prospect theory, he said that losses are felt more intensely than gain of equal value. If we have loss of 50% or 50, and we have gain of 50, they are going to feel the loss. Their 50 of loss, they are going to feel it more than the gain, even if the loss and the gain they are equal. Understand now? So leaders fear in this loss aversion, leaders fear losses more than the value equivalent gain. Understand? Leaders, they fear losses, like what they will lose, they fear it than what they will gain. Understand now? So it makes leaders to be highly sensitive to threat to territory or power or regime survivor. So if you say that John Kennedy took a decision, and that decision that John Kennedy took is that 20%. That decision that John Kennedy took is to prevent the government of the USSR to be near Cuba, that is near them. You should know that they try to calculate the loss and the gain through SWOT analysis. What are our loss? What's our opportunity? So based on the loss, they find a solution. That's number one. Another assumption to them is that risk attitude differ for gain and losses. Listen, the attitude a leader will give to risk and the attitude they will give to gain, the attitude they give to loss and the attitude they give to gain opportunity are different. Listen, so they argue that prospect theory argue that decision makers are risk averse in the domain of gain and are risk acceptance in the domain of losses. This means that when the leader believe that they are going to do, they are doing well, they avoid risky action. As you are like this, when you know that you are doing well, you avoid anything that is risky that will put you in problem, so that people will not carry your name for head. The same thing applicable to the leader. When leaders believe they are doing well, they avoid risky actions. Understand now? So when leaders believe they are losing, on the other hand, when leaders believe they are losing, they are willing to take extraordinary risk to avert this decision. I don't know whether you understand this. When they believe they are gaining or they are doing well, they avoid risky action. But when they believe that they are losing, they will do anything they can do in order not to lose. I don't know whether you understand this. So, do you? I don't see myself. I don't know. Let me touch my screen.
We do to an extent.
Okay, I can see myself now. So I think we are only 6 because other people have done their own. So other people have done their own. So another absorption of this prospect theory is a reference point. It's called the reference point. That is, to them, gain and losses are psychologically passive, not objectively measured. Which means that here, the leaders psychologically perceive whether there is loss somewhere or whether there is gain somewhere, not that is going to measure them. So now, what matter is whether a leader feels they are winning or not. When a leader feels that he's winning, he take the right decision. But when he feels that he's losing, he take the. So when he feels that he's losing, he find a way not to do anything. When a leader thinks that he's winning, he find all possible ways not to do any risky thing that will make him to lose. But when the leader feels that he is losing, he do anything he wants to do in order to win. Kajiko, somebody says Kajiko. Do you understand?
Kunjiko. We are plenty. Kunjiko.
Let me write. I must speak this out. I must speak this also.
When it's more than one person, it's Kunjiko. When it's a man, you say Kajiko.
Okay. So, how many assumptions did I mention now? How many assumptions? Now, I want you to, before you sleep this night, go and read about prospect theory and the rational actor model. Prospect theory model and rational actor model. But I'll just explain it. I'll just give you in a brief way the difference between this. And so now, the rational actor model, just do it like in a tabular form. Put rational actor model here. Put prospect theory model here. And so now, to the prospect theory, decisions are psychological. To the prospect theory, decisions are psychological. Now, to the rational actor model, decisions are objectives. That is, they see the decision, they see whatever they want to, they take decision based on whatever they see. And to the how do you call, to the prospect theory, they find to any means to avoid losses. Prospect theory, they find any means, the leader find any means to avoid losses. You understand? Why? To the rational actor model, they find any way, they call it utility maximization. They find to maximize the losses, not avoiding it, but they find a way to make the losses to be small. Listen, now, why focusing on the gain? Listen, the process where they only say that they want to avoid any loss. Listen, but the rational actor model, they find a way to maximize the losses. Listen, to the prospect theory, risks vary by situation, which means that the risk a leader will take is going to depend on the situation the leader finds itself. Understand? But to the rational actor model, they believe that risk is consistent. That is that as a man, as a leader, take risk. Because if you take risk, you are going to make, some motivational speaker, they will say, take risk. They are not taking the risk, but they will advise you to take the risk. Understand? So go and read about this again. I know you have less than 24 hours for the exam. We have less than 24 hours for the exam, but go and read about it again. Read about prospect theory and the rational actor model theory. Because this course, we've done mode 1, 2, 3. So that's why I'm just trying to go on some questions that you can just understand. It's already 8:44 in Nigeria. I want to talk about something. There is one thing that they talk about in our handout, Bush Doctrine. Did anyone see that question? Any question on Bush Doctrine? Did you see anything on our handout like Bush Doctrine, please? Hello?
Yeah, I didn't see you.
No. For me, I saw
George Bush
Reagan and Clinton. but I
It's a,
did not see Bush doctrine.
I don't know. I don't know if it's in my dream I'm seeing this thing.
Yeah, it's on a passkey. I think I saw it on a passkey, Bush doctrine, something like that.
They said discuss foreign policy making in Africa. So let me just read the questions I have with me here, and I'll wish you good luck. They said discuss foreign policy making in Africa with reference to internal and external constraints. Foreign policy in Africa with reference to internal and external constraints. Do you understand this question? Do you understand this question?
Discuss foreign policy making in Africa.
Yeah, and with reference to internal and external constraints.
Okay.
Sorry about Mr. Akanji, about this Bush doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about Clinton and Reagan. They explained them in detail, but the Bush doctrine, they just mention it once, like in the 1990s and the Bush doctrine in 2001. But they explain Reagan doctrine and Clinton doctrine.
I don't know how that Bush doctrine is just ringing in my brain. I don't know. I don't know whether I saw it somewhere, but it's just ringing in my brain. So I just make I say it. So I mean, let's try to read that part and the Clinton doctrine also. Understand? Now, the question I asked is foreign policy, and what's the question again? Foreign policy in Africa and both internal and external constraint. Yeah, if you want to answer the question, you're explaining what foreign policy in Africa. Understand now? So foreign policy making in Africa refer to the process through which African states formulate and implement decisions. Understand? The process, the foreign policy in Africa refer to the process or processes through which African states formulate and implement decisions concerning their relation with other states and international actors. Understand now? Why African states are sovereign, understand, in international system, their foreign policy is being is significantly shaped by both internal and external factors. You understand? So we know that all countries in Africa are sovereign nations, but any decision we take are being influenced by both internal and external factors. They are now asking us that we should explain both internal and the external factor. Number one, internal factor constraint on foreign policy in Africa. Understand? Number one, weak political institution. Weak political institution. Many African states or many African countries have fragile institutions, which reduce which reduce consistencies in foreign policies formulation. So in politically in Africa, we are weak. Understand? So this undermine foreign policy decision. Understand? So another one is you need to know is economic constraint, money. Also, limited economic capacity restrict Africa foreign policy options. Also, every dependence on foreign aid, we mostly depend on foreign aid, loan, external market. So once we depend on this, it's going to reduce our bargaining power in the international political sphere. Understand? Another thing internally that is giving problem to Africa foreign policy is domestic security challenge. Domestic security challenge, like the Boko Haram, the banditry, the kidnapping in Nigeria. You understand that? So security challenge, there's internal conflict, insurgency, terrorism, and ethnic tension divert attentions, you understand that? And resources away from proactive foreign policy. Like for Nigeria, Boko Haram insurgency in Nigeria affecting Nigerian regional diplomacy. You understand that? So Nigeria is not being regarded as the giant as it is like when Obasanjo was there. Because we cannot even fight the Boko Haram we are facing internally. Understand? So security concern also. Understand? So here they are telling us what are the things that influence foreign policy internally. Again, another one we have is public opinion, social division. Public opinion, social division. Ethnic group, religious or regional division influence foreign policy, especially where policy may be perceived as favoring one group over another group. You see, sometimes, let me just give an example. Sometimes when the Igbos see that the Yoruba are being favored, they voice out, right? Once they voice out, that's public opinion. Once they voice out, what the president will do, the president will find a way to please them. You understand now? So, ethnic group influencing foreign policy. The same thing. Once the Yoruba sees that they have been underside or underrepresented, they voice out. The same thing to the Hausas. So once an ethnic group or an interest group or an opinion group in the society sees that something is not going as it is, you understand? They voice out, they give their own opinion, and that opinion they give influence the decision of the leaders. You understand? So there are many things I just mentioned before, but there are many things that influences foreign policy analysis in the country. So now that is internally. I've mentioned internally. Now externally, so now that is outside your country. What are the things that influence foreign policy outside your country? Number one, influence of major power. You should know that African foreign policy are majorly shaped by strategic interests of power. Understand now? So, like global power, rather, our Nigerian foreign policy as a country is being influenced by the decision of global power, like China, like UK, like USA. Understand now? So, the USA and how do you call these countries? France. They have military presence in major parts of West Africa and Central Africa. So now, they have military presence in major parts of West Africa and Central Africa. That is why Burkina Faso, Burkina, Mali, and Niger, they don't want French military in their territory again. But they're in Nigeria, they're in Ghana, they're in Togo, Benin, they're everywhere. So our foreign policy is being influenced by major global power. That is the United States, the USA, the China, the Russia, and the European Union, which is major African nations. Decisions have been influenced by this organization. Number two, global economic system. Global economic system. You know, in 809, we did what we call international monetary system, where we talk about IMF and the World Bank. You know, so this organization, they are established not to help Africa. So Africa integration, if Africa integrates into the global capitalist system as a supplier of raw material, you know, Africa, we supply raw material. We have all our territory is very rich, so we supply raw material. So since we join them, understand, as supplier of raw material, we have limit economic diplomacy. Understand now? And aside from that one, all this international economic system put in place, they are meant to give foreign aid or loan to Africa, but at the same time, they comes with conditionality. They come with conditions. Understand now? So you can also talk about you can also change to international financial institution. Understand? So like the IMF, the World Bank, they impose conditionality that shape domestic foreign policy decision. You just see that Tinubu will say, we'll go remove subsidies. So you don't know that subsidy you want to remove, it has been influenced from somebody somewhere outside Nigeria, far away. Understand now? So another thing that influences foreign policy externally is continental and regional organization. Continental and regional organization. Organization like African Union, understand? If you're a member of African Union or member of ECOWAS, understand? They will constrain, they will bring some laws that are going to limit your foreign policy, or they are going to bring some laws, some rules that are going to influence your foreign policy. Since you belong to them already, so you should be able to follow the decision they make there. So those decisions they make there are going to influence your foreign policy. Example now, ECOWAS sanction and intervention. Understand? So when ECOWAS give a sanction, when ECOWAS gives currently ECOWAS has given sanction to Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger because they said they are not more part of ECOWAS again. So once you give sanction like this, you should know that they are influencing their own personal, their foreign policy of these countries. Because the way Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger are going to do business again with Nigeria and other West African countries is going to be different because they don't belong to the same organization. You understand? So the last one I have here is global norms and international law. So international law, when you say international law, you see African states must conform to international norms. You must respect democracy, you must respect human rights, governance under external pressure. Through social media, they say that Nigerians, they are clean Christian. What did the global powers, United States of America did? They directly influence our decision by sending soldiers to Nigeria. Nigeria don't want it before. At the beginning, when they says it, we were saying, oh, we don't want them. But at the end, our president cannot impeach them to enter our country. He cannot do that. Listen, he cannot impeach them to enter. He cannot stop them to enter our country. You listen, which means that they from America, they don't influence decision in Tinubu regime. So that means you must obey global norms and international laws as African nation. So Africa as a continent, we are being influenced a lot. African as a continent, we are being influenced a lot by this organization. So it is
Sorry.
yeah.
Sorry, this point you are just making, is this still under continental and regional organizations?
No, I said global norms and international law. Continental and regional.
Okay.
Your continent.
Okay, I get it now.
So all these things we've done it. So just taking questions that I know it might come in, it might not come, but if you have an idea already with it, it's going to help you in the examination. So
Sorry, Mr. Akanji, sorry to cut you. There was a question I saw, and the lecturer Fatima Mahmoud tried to answer, but I'm a bit confused. A question about levels of decision making in Africa. And she said something about is it global circle, regional circle. Please, can you say something about that?
What was the question? Let me check the past question. I'm coming. Let me go and check the past question. I think Emalian sent me the past question, right? Do you send me the past question? Let me check the question.
Yes, I sent you. Was it that one I sent? Okay, yes, I sent it to you.
Trying to check the question. Let me check. Let me stop the recording. Let me stop the recording because I'm done. I'm majorly done with what I want to do this night.